Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to New Gardcity here on City Skylines. Let's fix the tram. This thing has been driving me up the wall for the longest time. You can see here I drive through the tunnel. Well, I don't drive. I watch it drive through the tunnel. And this point here, look at the track and the way the tram dips up and down and all sorts. And it just drove me up the wall. I really liked the idea of having an underground tram stop in the middle of the city there, but it just wasn't feasible. So I scrap that and I start looking at alternatives. In the end, I decided to go with a surface stop, and I'm actually quite happy with the way it integrates into the viaducts above, the railway viaducts. That's one thing I really like Blackfriars Station in London, for example. The way they built the new southern entrance into the bridge, it's really clever design, the way they did that. I'm a huge fan of that. And I wanted to sort of do something similar here. So in a second you will see I place this tram stop here, and this is the new Guard Square tram station hub. I was going to call it a hub, but it's not really a hub, is it? Because it's not very hub-like. But this is the new Guard Square tram station. It's a little bit sort of mucked up in the bridge at the moment, but I do fix that momentarily. I can't actually remember how I did that. Actually, I do something that changes it. Yeah, okay, I remember what I do. I move it along slightly. There we go. And it just about squeezes in. I check the clearances, the wires just about cross under the arches. And then, yeah, this is the new hub. So the new, if I ever build a monorail hub, that will go in this gap that you'll see me build here in a second, where the tram tracks kind of snake their way around. One of the great things about the tram is you can always just move things here and there if need be. So right here, where I build this little S curve with the road snap. There we go. And the monorail will probably go inside, or sorry, on the outside of that right hand curve that I just built, or the left hand curve, depending on which way you look at it. I think I have 2 goes of building this as well, because I wasn't particularly happy with that section. Preferred it to come out straight first and then curve round and then go straight again. And so yeah, that's where the monorail would go if I was to build one. I still haven't decided yet whether I am going to build one. And then this bit here is where the new underground section of the tram goes, and it works really, really well. And I could probably shove a building on top of that and not have to worry about it. I am still considering converting this part of the city into a square as well. Maybe not have it be Guard Square, because Guard Square is the park in the middle, but call it something else. I don't know what right now. We'll come up with some ideas, I'm sure. And then, yeah, just moving the tram lines here as well, making sure that they work. I think I managed to butcher this so that one stop stopped in one direction and one line, sorry, stopped in one direction and one line stopped in the other, which is not the plan. So I had to go and change that. And I'm trying to remember which one was which. There we go, that's that stop added, and then that's that stop added. So all future tram lines will now run through this new station. It's really nice, actually. I like the way it kind of works. And I was so, at the beginning of this series, I was so sort of stuck in the mindset of burying everything underground. But actually, it is kind of cool to have some of this out in the open, so that you can kind of see what's going on with a lot of it. I think that's not bad thinking, if I'm being honest. And if I do say so myself. Now I had this weird move it bug again where the track just does that weird drop. I think it still does that when I was riding the trams after I recorded this, which is kind of annoying. But it's just one of those things. I'll put a building on top of it there and I just won't go first person during that tunnel section, I suppose. Right, now on to the crux of today's episode. We're living in a commercial world, I'm afraid, people. And because of that, most city centres these days are shopping streets, leisure, tourism, that kind of thing. And that's basically what's happening to Halliday here. So Halliday used to be quite residential, as you can see. By the end of this, the southern half, below the main avenue, will remain residential. And we might even make it like a Kensington/Chelsea kind of area of the city, which I think is quite nice and quite lovely. But this area, the northern area, this is the shopping district. And I'm going to be putting in hotels, restaurants, clubs, bars, skyscrapers, all that kind of thing. I'm going to be completely redoing the road layout as well, as you can see. The new streets mod that I downloaded comes into play a little bit more here as well, because we've got all these new streets coming out. That medical centre gets demolished. I think I replace it with a hospital at some point, or if I haven't, I will do, because that will be a smart thing to do. And we are going to pedestrianise a lot of these streets, including alongside the station here, because basically Halliday and Guard Square Station were two separate entities, whereas in actuality I wanted them to kind of become one. So building this little pedestrian street here was a good way of doing that, I felt. It kind of opened up the city. It also means that you don't have to walk all the way down to the main road to then walk back up into Guard Square. You can now just take these pedestrianised streets. Plus you can build on these, which is really, really cool. So I think emergency vehicles, and sometimes you can use public transport as well, I believe, on these streets. I'm not going to do that though. Emergency vehicles, yes, but not buses, and certainly not taxi. Actually, taxis might not be a bad idea, because that will encourage... I don't know though, because that will raise traffic. I don't really want to do that. I'm still having problems with traffic over at the Gateway Terminal. I know someone asked me to post a picture on Reddit. I forgot to, on Discord, sorry, I forgot to do that. Next time I'm in the game, which will probably be next week, I will try and remember to do that, because yeah, I kind of want you guys to see how bad it is, because oh boy, it's bad. The really annoying thing is there's no real way to fix it. You know, it's not one of these things where you add some timed traffic lights or anything, because that's kind of the problem. I added quite a few sets of timed traffic lights to try and encourage traffic stability, and in actuality it's done the opposite. It's created instability, which isn't ideal, but there we go. So yes, these are the new pedestrianised streets going in. The idea is to get people out of their cars. Public transport is still a thing. There is an underground station connected just in the middle of your screen, I believe. I'm trying to remember exactly where it is. And that will encourage, you know, people to use public transport a little bit more, particularly to go to Guard Square and then travel outwards again, which is something... it's one of the things I like about this game that Cities in Motion didn't really have, was the idea of... like, they did use hubs. They used to travel into hubs and then out again, but not quite in the way that you would expect. And they would go really out of their way in order to travel to a hub. Whereas, you know, Guard Square is very much the beating heart of the city. So it makes a lot of sense to actually have more people commute into there and then back out on their journeys again. So I'm kind of happy that that's the case, and it works really, really well. So not unhappy with that at all. This is a little walkway. Again, it's about connecting parts of the city together. So this part of Halliday was separate from the other part of Halliday, almost as if they were two separate districts of the city, whereas they're not. And this is kind of a project that I'll be working on for the next sort of few weeks now, is actually connecting parts of the city up that weren't previously connected, and actually making them feel like one big city rather than all these separate towns that have kind of combined together. Which, again, in real life, that is what London is. It's a group of towns and villages and hamlets that have kind of gathered together over the years. Fortunately, there was a massive fire in 1666, which meant that a lot of the city was rebuilt, and then they started connecting things a little bit better. Plus, in the modern day, you know, London is quite big, don't get me wrong, but it's not, you know, it's not like a huge sprawling metropolis still. There are quite a few things that are relatively close together. So in terms of navigation, it's not too difficult. Sometimes you have to get a train into London and out the other side again, which isn't the most ideal thing in the world, but it does happen. But it's all interconnected. That's the point I was trying to make. It's all interconnected. And that's something that I wanted to do, particularly with the city centre here, because this would have been all built at the same time. So it would have, you know, make sense to actually have it all be part of one continuous structure rather than be all separate. There is still some residential in this area. It's not all commercial. Some of the main road here, for example, I made sure to keep as residential. Because again, realism, Oxford Street does have... Actually, does it? I was about to say Oxford Street does have some residences on it. I suppose it does. A lot of the buildings are quite like medium-sized in like Oxford Street, Regent Street, places like that, the shopping streets. And you've got stores like Niketown and Hamleys where, you know, the whole building is one store. I always find that, like, I used to do this thing, it's so sad. When I used to go to London, I always used to go to Nighttown. Never shopped there, never bought anything, but always used to just go there to admire how big it is. For those of you that don't know, Nighttown, it used to be one of the largest Nike town. It used to be one of the largest Nike stores in the world. It's like 5 floors tall. Every floor filled with different things. They had a whole floor dedicated to the Premier League. So, you know, you could buy the official match ball of the Premier League. You could view a display of all the match balls over the years. It's really sad and really nerdy, but awesome to actually go and visit. So if you are in London, head to Oxford Street. It's literally on the corner. I'm assuming it's still there because it's been like 10 years since I last went. But it's on the corner where Oxford Street Tube Station is. It's the other thing I loved about it was taking people there for the first time because it's really subtle. Like there's just a door that says Nike, and you walk in. The ground floor, there's nothing apart from a set of escalators, and you go up to the first floor, and then suddenly you're in this massive open space that's 3 stories tall. Stories with an E. And you know it's huge. It is huge in there. It's a very, again, nerdy but impressive. It's a bit like Westminster Tube Station when you go there for the first time and you go down to the Jubilee lines. You don't realise just how cavernous it is inside. It is incredible. Right, buildings. Time to add some buildings. So I want this city to have a skyline that's recognisable throughout the world. And the best way of doing that is to build massive, tall skyscrapers. And this is a good place to build those. As you can see, I'm having some real problems with the game lagging here. This is in ×2 or ×3 speed, so you can imagine how slow it was when I was actually trying to do it. We're reaching a point in this save now where I might have to start taking out assets that I'm not using, because to load up the lists each time takes forever. Plus some of the building themes that I had, you'll notice on the right hand side there, the custom ones that I've made are still there, but the other ones have all gone. So I don't know what's happened there. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, I mean, I'm making a new theme here anyway for Halliday, so it's not the end of the world. And this might even end up being something that I use over in South Bank as well, and incorporate some of these buildings in. There's a lot of buildings like specific stores from around the world. Prada in Osaka, for example. I don't know why the Osaka branch of Prada was the one that stood out and had to be modelled, but I don't know. I kind of like that international flair. Having all these different things popping up, I think that's kind of cool. There's a UK flavour here as well, of course, because this is a UK-inspired city. But as with most modern cities, there's an international taste. You know, it's not just necessarily UK design or French design or German design or whatever it might be. There's lots of different types of design. You even go back to Victorian times. You've got St Pancras Station and you've got King's Cross Station right next to each other. King's Cross is more of a Gothic style, and St Pancras is more of a, I'm trying to remember the word. Oh, what is it? Renaissance something. Something Renaissance it is. But it's awesome. St Pancras is a fantastic. It's not even St Pancras itself. It's the Midland Hotel behind it that is the impressive bit. But I suppose it's all part of the same building these days, so it counts. But yes, Halliday has now been zoned. I've put down some ploppables, I've put down some growables, and now I'm going to put down some biggables, because I'm going to put down quite a lot of skyscrapers. The traffic here has now subsided. There will still be people driving around here and parking here, I'm sure. We also had a massive power problem. In dezoning Halliday, I managed to cut off power to like 90% of the city centre, which wasn't very good. So I quickly put the wires back in there to get that fixed. The underground wires, I was against them at the start, but I think actually, the more I think about it, the more it seems like a good idea to actually have that. The Albert Hall as well was something I wanted to try and put in, but it didn't really work out. St Paul's as well. These buildings, I wish this building was widthways rather than lengthways, because that would have been cool. This one was too big. I wanted to have some classic buildings here as well. I could put that in Guard Square actually. That could work. And then yeah, just trying to find the right skyscrapers. I'm trying to remember the names of the ones I actually included in the end. What I will do is make a massive collection of all the mods and assets that I've used once I learn how, and make that available. So if you do download the save, first of all, I'm not responsible for your computer burning a hole through itself, because it is quite intensive to load this up. But also, What was the other thing I was going to say then? Oh yeah, I'll make the assets available as well, so you can download those. Nice little square there. Is it Prosperity Plaza or something? I think it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. But oh yeah, I wanted to include that. I thought that would be a nice touch. I don't actually know whether people can walk through it to the road on the other side. It'd be awesome if they could. But yeah, I don't know entirely if that's possible. First Canada Place, I think that is. Isn't that Canary Wharf? What's known as Canary Wharf? I believe so. I believe so. Either that or it's in Canada, this particular one. It's really, yeah, because again, when you name streets, like you got Denmark Hill in London, and as a kid, I thought, you know, oh, that's the Danish part of London. But I don't think it is. I think it's just named after Denmark. I've never been there, that's the thing. I've kind of looked it up online when I was a bit older, because I thought, surely not. Surely they haven't just built an area of London and gone, that's the Danish bit. I think, yeah, it's just a name. A bit like, actually no, I was going to say a bit like places like Little Holland in New York, but that is where Dutch settlers lived. That's why it has that name. So I don't know. Does anyone know why Denmark Hill is called Denmark Hill? Is the Danish embassy near there or something? Who knows? But yeah, these are the buildings I'm adding in now. It's really annoying that they don't quite fit with the street structure, because it would have been so cool to have them all work like this. I think, yeah, pop that one there. Guard Square is a lot more built up now, as you can see. We've got a lot more tall buildings. I put a clock tower here as well next to the plaza. I think that is actually St. Stephen's Tower, or what is now the Elizabeth II Tower. Which, again, it kind of looks cool. This observation tower, originally I built it there, but you'll see I move it in a second. And I build it there, so that you can actually go out and look out across Guard Bay, which... Again, that'd be quite a good tourist attraction, I imagine. If only I could charge people to do it. And I'll pop this one here. Sea and something scraper, I think that was called. Again, I can't remember. Didn't really read it. Some more tall buildings going in. Pop that one right there. So the big, dense commercial buildings will pop up alongside these buildings. And I think it's a bit like what we did at Plint Bridge to start with, but this time it works because we're not right next to a major airport. Having these big buildings pop up alongside smaller buildings, it's kind of like a building war, which it happened back in the US in the 1910s. You had things like the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, the Sears Tower, I think, was built around that time as well. All these big companies trying to build the biggest, tallest building in the world in order to flex, basically, and brag about how rich they were. Here's a thing, by the way. I think I've got time to rant about this. I did a virtual pub quiz the other day. I do a lot of virtual pub quizzes on RedTooth. I recommend it. It's really fun. They actually do quite a good job, despite what I'm about to say. They had a question last week. Which city has the tallest hotel in the world? And there were 6 options, and after, I think it's every 5 seconds, an option disappears, and if you choose that option, you're obviously wrong. And at the end, you're left with 2 options, and then they reveal the right answer. Now, I thought Dubai was the answer. Dubai wasn't on the list. You had London, Glasgow, Tokyo, Mecca, Rio de Janeiro, and New York, I think was the 6th one. The answer was Mecca. I've since looked this up, and I don't think they classed tallest correctly. Because there is a building in Mecca, whose name I can't pronounce right now, that does contain a hotel. And it is the 3rd tallest building in the world, and it's the 5th it's the tallest freestanding structure in the world, and it's the 3rd tallest building in the world. Now, I don't think that counts, because if a building only has a hotel on its top 5 floors, for example, then I wouldn't say that's the tallest hotel in the world, I would say that's the highest hotel in the world. I then googled it, and the answer is Dubai. There is a building called the Genovo Hotel, I believe it is, or Genoro Hotel, which is, according to Wikipedia and Google, the tallest hotel in the world. It's not the Burj Al Arab, which I thought it was, but it is still in Dubai. There is a new hotel being built in Mecca that's the world's largest, and it specifically says largest, not tallest. So I don't quite know where their answer came from. Maybe there is something that I'm not aware of. Again, if anyone out there does know, feel free to comment. But for me, like, again, speaking as a coaster enthusiast here, the tallest roller coaster in the world is King Dakar at Six Flags Great Adventure. But if you count you know, any coaster that's on a tall building as being the world's tallest, then the world's tallest coaster ever built is the High Roller at the Stratosphere in Las Vegas, which, although the coaster itself was only 20 foot tall, it was built on the top of the 1,000 foot Stratosphere Tower. How do you class it? For me, the world's tallest has to be from the ground up, and therefore 458 feet Kingda Ka is the world's tallest. The world's highest would have been High Roller, because it's 1,020 foot off the ground, but it's not taller than Kingda Ka. It's a real mind boggle how you class these things, but you know, height and tall are not the same thing. If I built a coffee shop on the top of Mount Everest, it wouldn't be the world's tallest coffee shop, it would be the world's highest. Likewise with railway stations, the world's highest railway station would not be the world's tallest. And I'm probably going on about this way too long, and you're probably getting all bored of me going on about it now, but you kind of get my point. Little things like that do bug me. And that's where I'm at with, I can't even remember how I segued into this now. Something to do with this city. What was it? Tall buildings. I think that's what it was. Something to do with tall buildings. But yeah, the skyline of Gardcity has changed now. And I've also, in St. Michael, increased the density of buildings in order to try and make this bit taller. Because originally it looked like a suburb built in the middle of a city, which, I don't know, that could be possible. I might even include that a little bit later. I mean, Barnwell is kind of that. It's just outside the city centre. And Hunway is as well. And then by the time you get to Lafayette, you're in the old town, so it's all suburbs type thing anyway. But yeah, it's the skyline just didn't look right to me, which is why I wanted to do this build today. I wanted to try and make it look a little bit more realistic. And, you know, getting the tram line off the ground here as well. In the city centre, you wouldn't have a level crossing like we had. So to rebuild this was a good idea. And it works out quite well in the end. And yeah, the next project, that's the question. I'm trying to think what I would want to do next. Suggestions are of course welcome. I think I'm just going to be adding more suburbs now. So we've got the new trade school up and running. We've got the you know, the new city centre, as it were. So it'd be nice now to go back and actually make some more housing for people to live in. That'd be kind of cool. I'm spending way too long faffing around with this tram bridge as well, trying to make it work. It does work in the end. I do get it to work, and I'm quite happy with it. But yeah, moving all this stuff around. Move It is such a great mod, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's an arseache, and in this case it's an arseache, because trying to get these things to move into the right position can be tricky. The good thing is, after I finished this episode, I rode the tram through this section to make sure it looked okay, and the lift structures that I'm building here, they do actually work. They do function as intended, which is very, very good news. And people are getting up to the platforms here and boarding trams, which is also good to see. And you know, this kind of looks cool. It's kind of a build it yourself type thing. If I was better with procedural objects, I would put like a shelter on top of this and things like that, but there we go. Right, we are coming up to the end of the episode, so like I said, leave some suggestions down below for what you'd like to see next, which areas of the city you'd like to see developed. Also, if there's anything that I said I would do in the past that I've since forgotten to do, because I'm pretty sure that's happened. There's always times where I said, you know, next time I'm going to be doing this, and then it's 2 weeks later and I've completely forgotten what I said I would do. That happens to me a lot. OpenTTD, for example, I'm sure there's about 7 or 8 episodes that I promised you guys that you're still waiting for. So, I mean, if I do forget that, it's not the worst thing in the world to comment below and remind me. It's always appreciated. But yeah, let me know what you want next. Let me know where you want this series to go, because you know, I'm not running out of ideas per se, but I'm running out of inspiration. You know, there's a lot of times where I want to build a new residential area and I end up building it looking like other parts of the city because that's my reference point. And I know I've said in the past that I would do a French area, which really should have been Lafayette, given its name. But I also want to do a Dutch area and maybe a US area. I don't know. I guess that's kind of done already when you build these big high rises. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series. Share the videos as well, that's always appreciated, whether it's on forums or Reddit or whatever it might be. Please do share the content if you can. Try and get as many people to watch these as possible, because again, I'm not too fussed about the view count, but I would like it to be higher. Let's put it that way. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed... Oh no, comment down below. That's the other thing. And then, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, as I'm faffing around with the theme manager again, I will see you soon.